Oh, hello, Ted. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to work on some stuff today for particularly for the low back, and I'll chat a bit now, and then I'll try and not talk so much during the practice this morning. A few key things to think about. If your low back is not feeling great, oh, and my microphone is facing in the wrong direction. I apologize. Maybe that's better. So if your low back is not feeling great, definitely, if you're in a lot of pain, get it checked out. Get it checked out by somebody who is not a yoga instructor. That would be your first directive. But it's important to figure out why our low backs get so uncomfortable. Usually it's a combination of weakening of some muscles, core, gluteus maximus, gluteus medius. That means that other muscles are doing the work that don't want to do the work. Potentially the QL, the quadratus lumborum, so the kind of lower back muscles. Those can go into spasm fairly easily, keeping in mind that muscles pull apart and then they can snap back together and they kind of form knots, and that can be really uncomfortable and cause those spasms. The other thing that can happen is we can just have tightness. So as our hamstrings get tight, think about that. As the hamstrings get tight, think about everything pulling down through the pelvis, really creating some discomfort. That could be the issue. It can be stress, which causes the iliopsoas to contract. It can be sitting too much. It can be being physically active too much. I mean, there's so many things. So today we're going to go through a few of my favorite bits and pieces that I use to try and soothe that low back. And while we're doing it, keep in mind that this might not work for you in the same way that it works for me, but maybe think about pieces that you can incorporate. I cannot emphasize enough, especially if you're over the age of 30, which I think most of us are. We really do have to pay attention to the strengthening piece. Gluteus medius is one of the first things kind of to go in our worlds. And so we will do quickly some clamshells. They are my go-to. I hate doing them, but I try and do them, if not every day, every few days. It takes a couple of minutes. It will make a huge difference in your life. So if you're not doing it, do it. That's all the yakking I'm going to do, maybe. So I'm sitting up on my block, beautiful sunny day. It is warm in Nova Scotia, and I couldn't feel happier to be joining folks and seeing so many friendly faces this morning. So let's enjoy our time together and just start to relax into the space. Close your eyes, soften your face. Soften the shoulders, soften the hands. Do a quick check-in with yourself. Just notice how you come to the practice this morning. Again, notice, don't judge. And in this physical posture that we're in, which can often be uncomfortable, notice as that discomfort builds and your mind becomes a little bit more scattered. Offer a sense of calm through the breath. And then let's just remove ourselves from that posture and let's come on down to the back. I always wish I had a zoom on the camera so I could just zoom in on the facial expressions of Jeff, which are really quite dramatic, especially in this moment where he's just given up after a big walk. So he's just gonna zone out, and you're welcome to follow that lead. All right, so we're gonna come down to the back, wiggle in. Maybe enjoy a little bit of a back scratch. It's that time of year, right? We're starting to use heating systems. It's time of the year where usually we get a little dry and itchy. So enjoy this. So relax your arms, and we're going to start by just kind of pulling knees into tummy and exploring what's happening specifically in our hip flexors and the iliopsoas. I'm going to pull my left knee and, hey, thanks, Ted. And the right leg is going to stretch out. So we're going to hold this for a few breaths, and that breath needs to go deeply into the hips and the pelvis. You can kind of move legs around a little bit, just explore what's happening, find the tight spots, and try and bring a sense of calm. So by that, I mean really soften through the foot, soften through the face. And then we're going to switch sides. So pull in the other leg. Same thing, just move it around a little bit. And make sure that breath is consistently deep. If it's getting shallow, just notice, push it deeper. Every deep breath helps release the tension that might be contributing to that discomfort. All right, let's bring both knees into the tummy, hug them in tight, maybe rocking side to side. And then we're going to kind of see what's happening with the hamstrings. So release your arms, slowly start to lift those legs up towards the sky, flex your feet, heels push up. I'm really feeling the hamstrings. In my day job, working for a small town, one of my other duties as assigned is returning officer. So we just had our municipal election wrap up last night. So I've been doing a lot of sitting, a lot of data entry, enumerating people. And so I'm really feeling tighter than I normally would. So this is actually a great practice for me too today. So I'm just kind of flipping the feet up and down, just seeing what's happening with those hamstrings. Bring the feet apart and maybe do some circles. Lots of deep breath here. And other way. Spread your toes wide apart. And then start to bring the soles of your feet together and lowering down. So you're going to kind of come into a butterfly here. Let the knees come out to the sides. Reach forward, grab those feet,
pull everything in. Maybe elbows come to the inside of the knees. So this stretch is obviously a super important one when we look at all the range of motion that we can restore through the hips, through the pelvis. Again, you can add motion. I want to draw your attention now to what's happening across the chest and the shoulders when we come into this posture. If you're kind of curling up here, then you're just transferring the tension from one part of the body to the other. So sink down through the shoulders, open up through the heart center, and let's release the stress as we are breathing out. Let's take one really deep, slow breath in. Keep breathing in a little bit more. And then hard exhale. Let's do that once more. Slow, deep breath in. Keep breathing in a little bit more. And then exhale hard. And let's release the legs. Feet come down to the mat. Bring the arms out to a cactus position. If you can, rest the backs of your hands on the floor. If this doesn't work for you, bring the fingertips together over top of the head, creating more of a triangle or a pyramid. And in this posture, my feet are hip width apart, soles of the feet are on the floor. And I'm noticing a really big arch in the lumbar spine in this posture for me. So I'm very slowly going to push that low back down. To do that, I have to engage through those deep core muscles, kind of working through the pelvic floor, just pushing into the mat. Once I feel I've kind of really grounded my low back into the floor, I'm going to do 3 deep breaths in and out. Good. And you can just soften through the body. Bring your arms down to rest at your sides. Roll your shoulders back. Good. So when we do somatic movement, we do this pelvic roll or tilt forward. And then as we exhale, we kind of push back down into the floor. We're going to do that, but to achieve a psoas release and softening, we're going to add a little bit more with the legs. So we're going to inhale and tilt or roll forward. So you create that space under the low back. But when you exhale and push into the floor, I want you to bring a knee back. We're not using the hands. You're actually going to use that core strength to pull that leg back. And as this leg is pulling back, your low back is pushing into the floor. And I like to push the opposite foot into the mat. So there's a lot of kind of energy flowing here. And then as we release the foot down, you're going to roll the pelvis forward. And then again, exhale, we're going to move to the other side, pushing into the floor. Knee comes back. other foot pushing in to the floor. So you have that yin and yang energy, which is really nice for this part of the body, or all these parts of the body. So let's do that together. And if you want to have your hands on your hips, sometimes that's easier to guide, but I leave that to you. So let's inhale, roll the pelvis forward. Nice stretch. And then exhale, pressing into the floor, a leg comes back or a knee. Inhale, foot comes down, pelvic roll forward. Exhale, other side coming back. Inhale, roll the pelvis. Exhale, other side. Inhale, roll through that pelvis, nice stretch. Exhale, other side. Really come back as far as you can. Inhale, roll forward. Exhale, other side. So as that knee comes back, pushing into the floor, so much to think about. Inhale, rolling forward. Exhale, other side. Inhale, roll the pelvis. Exhale, other side. We're going to do a few more of these. Inhale. And exhale, switching sides. Inhale. Exhale, switching sides. Inhale. Exhale, switching sides. And to finish this off, inhale, roll the pelvis forward, really create space. And then exhale, tight through the core, pressing down, both knees come back. Hold them into the tummy. And gently add a little bit of a rocking motion from side to side. As we're going through the practice, if your low back is uncomfortable, if you need a break, take one. Child's pose can be helpful too. All right, let's bring the feet back to the floor. So we've been starting with a little bit of warmth, creating warmth in this area. We've been doing a little bit of activation and a little bit of stretching. I want to bring in some of the strengthening components now because that's part of the balance that we need to achieve. So I want to introduce you to kind of an interesting core strengthening posture. It's really effective. So what we're going to do is bring our arms off the floor. So you're kind of stretching the fingertips forward. And then I want you to be pressing your feet into the floor. Knees are hip width apart. And then just gently lift the shoulders off the mat just a little ways. Chin tucks towards the chest. Hold and breathe, engaging through the core. Try and hold for 3 breaths. Soften down. 3 deep breaths. Let's go again. So arms come up, shoulders lift, head comes up, pushing down through the pelvis into the floor. 3 deep breaths in and out. Soften down and melt. Let's do one more. Arms come up. Shoulders peel off the floor. Chin is tucking towards the chest. 3 deep breaths, maybe reaching a little bit forward towards the knees. And then softening down to the mat. Nice work. For a posture that doesn't look like much, I hope people are really feeling a lot going on. So speaking of a lot going on, we're going to move into some bridge work. Arms can remain at your sides, palms facing down, or you can hold on to the sides of your mat if that's comfortable. I'm going to move my heels closer to the bum, toes are spread, arches lifted, taking a slow, deep breath in. As you exhale, start to peel the hips off the mat, lifting up. And the higher you lift, you're going to feel quads tightening. And I want you to really start to squeeze the bum cheeks together. Engage through your core. We're going to hold this for a few more breaths. Slowly releasing down. Stacking some earlier pieces. Inhale, roll your pelvis forward. Exhale, push it into the floor. Left knee comes back. Releasing the foot to the floor. Breathing in. Exhale, lift to your bridge. Remember to use your glutes, use your core, lifting up higher, and breathe. Slowly sink back down to the floor. Inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. Exhale, push into the floor as the right knee comes back. Releasing the foot to the floor, breathing in. Exhale, back to the bridge. Maybe lift a little bit higher. You can again lift up using the sides of the mat as a little bit of leverage. Slowly releasing down. Hold here, really deepening the breath. As you bring your feet to the outer edges of the mat, let your knees rest against each other. Good. Roll onto your side. And for this, I like to support the head, different than what we do in somatic movement. So I'm supporting my head just comfortably here. My knees are together, my feet are together. So clamshells, as I'm always yakking about, they are so effective. So we're just going to do a few together just to get people into the habit of doing it. You don't need to do this through the class, but try and find a time in the day to do this. So really, it's very simple. We keep the feet together as we breathe in, the knee and the top leg lift up. So think about a clamshell opening, and then exhale very slowly down. Let's inhale, slowly opening. Exhale down. Inhale, slowly opening, deep breaths in. Exhale down, lots of control. Let's inhale up. Exhale down. Once more here, inhale up. See if you can open even more. And exhale down. So that was 5 or 6 because I suck at counting. So when I do this, I try and do 30 on each side. I probably speed it up more than I should, but 30 is usually my goal. Roll or flip to the other side. Again, getting comfortable. Knees together, feet or ankles together. And slowly inhale, opening up. Notice the difference between sides. Slowly exhale down. Inhale. Exhale down. Breathing up and down. Let's do a couple more. Inhale and exhale. Let's call this one the last one, all the way up. See if you can go even higher. And then down. Really nice work. Let's continue rolling here. Come on to the hands and knees. We're going to flip the toes under. My hands are shoulder width apart. And I'm going to take a deep breath in. Exhale, slowly pushing up into downward facing dog. I'm staying way up on my toes so I can really get into those hamstrings. And then still on the toes, pressing up through the arms. I'm going to tuck my hips under and start to lower my heels. We're going to hold and breathe here for 5. Keep pushing down through your heels. Keep the tail tucked. And then we're going to walk forward to the hands. Baby steps until the hands come back. Slowly rolling up bit by bit, by bit, by bit. And then a big roll back up the shoulders. Ooh, I'm thirsty. Nice. So have a little shake to get energy flowing. Think about how you're feeling at this point. Some of the stuff might have woken up stuff in the low back. If you need to take a break, do that. I want to keep the energy going, but I want to warm us up a little bit before we go into Warrior One, which is another way to really release some of the tension in the low back. And we're just going to do an upper body kind of wake up energy flow move. So just soften through your legs. Maybe I'll do it this way. And all we're going to do is basically sweep arms like this. So just really get comfortable with the range of motion. Lots of deep breaths. Try and keep the arms fairly straight. And feel like you're reaching through the fingertips forward and back. Do a couple more of these, or maybe more than a couple. And releasing. Good. So quick tip, quick little hack to increase energy when you're feeling like your energy is settled. You want to pump it up. Cool. Okay. So last week we were doing a lot of work on the tree pose, which is great to kind of externally rotate and open up through the hip. I want to do some work today on Warrior One because of how it opens up through the iliopsoas, and it really starts to allow us to identify and find some of those tight areas in the low back. So let's start with a little bit of a wider stance. Shoulders are back. I'm going to step my left foot out on a slight angle. Use whatever foot you're comfortable with. And then I'm going to step forward with the other foot. A nice step forward. So right away, when we come into this posture, kind of legs are still straight here. Think about where your butt is. So mine's kind of scooping up. I want to drop my tail already. To keep it dropped, I need to engage through the core. Then I'm going to start to sink into that front knee. Now I took a wide step forward or a big step forward because I don't want my knee coming past my toes or ankle. I got to do an even further scooch of my toes here. Good. So the front leg is bent. Draw your attention now to the back leg, and I want you to really focus on this. Think about leaning back into this a ways. Tail stays tucked. Press down into that back foot. Think about what you can do to solidify that back leg. So maybe engaging through the quads. You're probably feeling some pull through the front of the hip flexors. That's great. You should. And if that low back is feeling tight here, I want you to keep the bottom part of the body steady and pull up out of your pelvis. And now that you've pulled up, let's sweep the arms up. Maybe sink down deeper into this. The front bent leg, I'm going to bring that arm to my hip. Keep your shoulder rolled back. The other arm that's extended up in the air, I'm going to extend it even more. And then very mindfully, I'm going to start to reach over in the midline of the body while I sink even further in to this lunge. I have no idea what to call this posture. What kind of I feel this is a little bit of a Highland dancing warrior. But think about the stretch that's happening through this part of the body. We're creating this amazing arc. If you can, open up even further, sinking deeper still. Couple more breaths. slowly release by bringing the arm down in front. Gently straighten the front leg a little bit, and then we're going to step forward. Soften here. Release your arms down. And then pressing into the feet, sweep your arms up. And bring the hands to the heart. Come into the mountain pose while we let the energy in the body settle. So feet are hip width apart, getting taller, straightening the legs. Chest is proud. Let's bring the hands so the palms are facing forward. So tall. And then softening here. Good. Let's go through that on the other side. And then we're going to kind of take a moment to notice maybe what's shifted in the body, either energetically or physically, maybe even sometimes emotionally. So again, we're taking a little bit of a wider stance today for our warrior one. I'm going to bring my right foot out this time on a slight angle for support and stability. And then my left foot steps forward. So I'm gonna kind of adjust my hips a little bit here because this side is way tighter for me. So I want to bring my back hip forward, front hip comes back. Legs are still straight at this time. I'm going to start to bend through that front knee. Just getting a sense for the space I need to complete this posture. And right away, I'm noticing tightness through that back hip and pelvis. So I want to really strengthen that back leg, very mindfully grounding into the floor and keeping the pelvis open. I want to keep my tail tucked under. And when you start to scoop under, you feel a bigger stretch here, at least I do. A couple more breaths here. Let's start to think about creating space. So holding the lower body where it is, lifting up out of the pelvis, and then sweep your arms up. Maybe it's time to sink deeper, intensifying that stretch. And then the front bent leg, that arm comes down to the hip. The other arm extends up even further, and then we start to gently cross the midline. Maybe leaning back into this. Twist or adapt or adjust to get what you need. Balance is an issue. You could grab a hold of something. Keep that breath so deep. And then slowly releasing the arm down. Step forward, but softening. Surrender into a little bit of a rag doll here. Maybe hold the elbows. And then rolling up this time. Let's bring the hands to the heart. And releasing. So take a wider stance and just sway for a moment. Maybe close your eyes. Think about how that posture feels. I wanted to pull that into the practice this week. It's a really intense stretch, and I've been actually doing this. As I said, I've been doing a lot more sitting this week, kind of data entry. And that posture was the one that saved me.
At least some of my body, my shoulders and neck are still a mess. Let's roll the shoulders back, hands to the heart. Nice work. So I think we have time barely, but I want to bring in one more piece that we always forget, myself included. You know, for the folks who have low back discomfort because they're active, or you've been hiking or walking or working in the garden or doing all of these great things that we love to do, the things that we do yoga to keep doing. What I find is when I come in from being outside, I forget to stretch. Or if I do the whole like, and then like a little, and I think I'm done, and you're not. There's another important stretch to keep in mind that you should think about doing. And I try and do this on a chair, but we'll do it on the mat today. And basically it's just a bridge pose. So please join me on your knees. And I apologize if this is uncomfortable. Well, who am I kidding? It's the bridge. Sorry, was I calling it the bridge? It's the gate. Gate pose. Can you tell we have hit the exact moment in the practice where all of my happy chemicals are flowing and now I have no idea what I'm doing. But I feel great. I'm going to bring a foot out to the side. And I can either roll onto the flat foot or I can stay on the inside of the foot. And I think today this is how I'm going to work this posture. So we call this the gate. If I do this on a chair, I'm standing and this foot is on the seat of a chair. Even here, we're getting that stretch to the inner thigh. Of course, you can do this through the triangle as well. This is so effective. This is not stretched enough. So the gluteus medius, which is kind of here, gets weak. This compensates by doing more work. So this is doing more work, and your quadratus lumborum across the back is doing more work. If we strengthen, if we stretch, if we release, strengthening here, this starts to allow us to function in the way we really should be functioning. Okay, we're going to keep holding, but we're going to add a stretch here. So shoulder back, relaxing the arm, extending an arm way up, lengthening here again, lifting up out of the pelvis. Let's move across the midline. I always collapse in here, so I'm going to make the effort to roll back. Lots of deep breaths. And then gently releasing. Good. Pull the knees together. Other side. I am amazed often when I come into this posture because I am trying to do it more, but the tightness for me is ridiculous. So if you're feeling a lot of tightness, I'm with you. All right, keeping that breath nice and deep. Trying to stay tall in the pose, trying to keep the tail tucked in the pose. Lots of deep breath. Then I'm going to relax my arm. The other arm comes up, really lengthening here and then crossing the midline. Stay tall as you do this. Stay back while you do this. And then let's release down. So sink down gently onto the heels. Roll your shoulders a little bit. So with the gait, often we end up lifting the extended leg. We're not doing that today. But again, that's a great way to really strengthen gluteus medius. Bring the knees apart a little ways. And we're going to start to sink down into a child's pose. Really take your time. Pull or push back, come on up. Clearly Jeff is not pleased with the truck that just drove by. Oh my goodness. So we've pushed back up into the hero now. And one more stretch. We're going to do a figure four. Now, I'm really lucky because I have a sofa behind me, and that makes this posture a lot easier. If you have something you can kind of wiggle up against, great. If not, modify. But this is a really good go-to. You know, you're watching the news, get on the mat, do some clamshells, do one of these stretches. So basically, it's a figure four stretch. We do this all the time. We're just doing it in a different alignment. I'm going to have my foot on the floor, my knee is bent. My other leg, I'm leaning back against the sofa for support. And I'm crossing my leg over here. So if you're stuck like this, that's okay. Enjoy it. I'm going to pull in and up a little bit more. This is really intense. This is a deep glute stretch. Do your best. Kind of move around a little bit if you want. Almost feels in a way like rock the baby, but more intense. And over time, you can start to get deeper into this. Like, I've had better experiences in this posture where I can actually hold on. Not today so much. You're holding your breath, don't. Keep breathing. A couple more breaths here to go. And then releasing. To me, that feels as intense as the cow face pose. Again, it shouldn't hurt. It should just be intense, really deeply into your hips. Let's do the other side. So starting with the foot on the floor, bent knee, getting yourself hauled over here, and then finding a way to move forward. There's really, I don't feel there's a right or wrong way to do this, obviously. I feel like if there is a wrong way, it might be how I'm positioned. But this is really getting deep into my hips, which is what I'm looking for. Again, don't be afraid to lean back into furniture or a wall. Or you can push forward with your hand. Another couple of deep breaths. And let's release that. Bounce the legs. Nice. Give everything a little bit of a rub. Let's come down to the back as we get ready to wrap up the class. finish my water. Okay,
Back to our mats. Feet on the mat. Relax your arms. Actually, let's bring the arms back into that cactus pose if you can. Pull the knees up and into the tummy, and very slowly we're going to come into a spinal twist. So lowering the legs to one side of the body, head turns in the opposite direction, push the shoulders down in the opposite direction. Slowly start to switch to the other side. And then come back to center.
I'm going to invite you now to move into whatever position is most comfortable for you for the Shavasana. Maybe you need to be flat on your back. Maybe knees are pulled into tummy. Maybe you have your knees bent, feet at the outer edges of the mat, knees resting against each other. Whatever works for you, take that posture. And start to soften into the next few moments of just complete and absolute relaxation. draw your attention back to your breath and deepen it intentionally. Start to move your fingers and toes. Maybe your head moves from shoulder to shoulder. Stretch your arms up over top of your head. Stretch out the legs. Really have this nice sensation of lengthening. And then when you're ready, knees to tummy, give yourself an amazing hug. And then when you're ready, move to a seated posture. So as you're settling into this position, keep the breath deep, keep that beautiful energy circulating. And as a recap, I'm sure it's not breaking news to anyone, but when we have discomfort in the low back or hips, generally it's a combination of weakening muscles and potentially use of the incorrect muscles. Stretching can only do so much for us. Stretching might release some of the tension in the moment, or if we've got some of those knots forming, it might help that gently release. But we have to remember that the strengthening components, so the clamshells, the bridge poses, even something like Warrior One or that gate pose with the leg lift, those are pieces we need to revisit often so we can keep those muscles strong and have every member of the team working really effectively to share the load of life. The stretching then ends up being the gift and the reward and the release and the joy. So thanks, Julie requested this. So thanks to Julie for a great suggestion. Next week, when we come back, we're going to be working on a flow and just kind of moving gracefully through a whole bunch of different things. I'm looking forward to that. We'll bring our hands together in front of the heart. I wish everybody the most beautiful day, an amazing week. May you be surrounded with joy. Namaste. Oh, that's so far away.